What is good, guys? It's Rey-Jay back with another video. And this one I want to break down what's going on with the overall market, what you should be watching for as time progresses. I'm also going to talk about some very important levels to be watching for on Tesla, SPY, Nvda, the QQQ, and a couple of other tickers. I'm also going to break down what's going on with the economic calendar and how things are looking thus far, and some very important levels to be watching for on all these different charts. But before I break anything down, all this information, before I talk about all the different charts out there, let me just mention a couple of things. Firstly, I am not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Moomoo link, which is down below and in the description. If you sign up for Moomoo, the link down below, and deposit $100 into the account, you are guaranteed up to 5 free stocks. If you deposit $1,000, you're guaranteed 15 free stocks. And this offer ends very, very soon in just a couple of weeks. But anyways, now let's just talk about the market and how things are looking. Looking at SPY, we had a pretty wild day. We sold off in the morning. We saw this little pump and dump like move. We saw this thing push very nicely intraday. We got a nice little push up as we got the FOMC minutes. And then we came right back down. So it was like a pump and a dump. And then we ended up closing kind of red as the market was continuing to remain weak. But now the question is, what is SPY going to do? Are we going to get some kind of bounce or not? And what are some important levels to be watching for? I'm going to give you guys some answers in just a couple of minutes. But I just want to remind you guys about two very important things. Number one, we have some important data coming out for tomorrow. In the morning, we have initial jobless claims coming out right here. This is going to be 1 hour before the market opens. You want this to be between 260 and 225,000. If it's too high, this could cause some downside. Being too low can also do that. And if it's in between, that's generally where you want it to be, between the range I called out. That's going to be like pretty decent for the markets. Besides that, besides the jobs numbers coming out in the morning, initial and continuing jobless claims, we also have at 11:30 a.m., the 4-week and the 8-week bill auctions, which could cause some more volatility. We'll be watching this very carefully as well. Now, that's pretty much it for economic data. It's going to be kind of a quiet day tomorrow. It's not really a whole ton going on. I also want to note that the Fear and Greed Index used to be extremely greedy. Now we're just greedy. This is slowly turning in this direction, turning leftwards. And this is happening as the market is becoming more and more oversold, as we're starting to see more sellers stepping in and continuing to step in and just dominate the bulls. And we're going to be watching to see how this affects SPY and these tickers. So here's the thing about SPY, guys. Technically, SPY is on a downtrend. Okay, it's making lower highs and lower lows. And we can officially just do this now. We can just take this like very handy looking tool and just draw out our new resistance, which is just like this. We have this like new channel that's kind of like developing. And as you can see, SPY is looking, very weak right now. We're just continuing to be stuck within this channel. And we're continuing to just downtrend very, very hard. So SPY is looking bearish overall, but there's going to be a big test again for tomorrow. It's very simple, guys. Super, super simple stuff. Let me show you how simple this is. Basically, I think it's the 4-hour. Actually, it's not the 4-hour. I think it's actually on the daily time frame. On the daily, look at the 20 EMA. This is very close to 468 right now. 468 is our key support. We came down, we held it today, but we need to lose this to turn even more bearish. If we lose 468s tomorrow, we're going to turn very bearish. We need to lose it and close below that, and we're very bearish. I'm going to turn into a big bear. If we close above this, there's going to be some hope for this thing to try to hold up and try to retest some of those highs. So we're going to be watching that very carefully. The daily looks very bearish, though, if you look at the current trend right here in our momentum indicators. So I do favor the downside a bit more, but just to be safe, watch this level for confirmation. So it's very simple. If you want to be bullish on SPY, let me just go over all these different contingencies before I actually break down what's very probable. If you're bullish, you want to see this thing break out of this resistance, not some kind of false breakout, and start to reverse like this. And this could actually help this thing out. We want to get back above at least 472 to turn bullish. That's going to be the more bullish case. The more bearish case is we basically attempt to break out. We kind of fail here. We try like this. We fail, and we just end up continuing to sink, and we lose 468s tomorrow. If we lose 468, we close below this, we're going to be on our way down to the much lower 460s for a bigger drop. Okay, so 468 is going to be key. I'm going to actually change these colors up because this is actually very important. We're going to make this white. I'm going to make this like much smaller now, and we're going to make this line much bigger. I'm going to change the color to like orange. I'm going to make this, let me see, a little bit bigger. So 468 is going to be our key level. If we lose this tomorrow, we're going to turn really bearish, and this thing is going to continue to sink. The trend has been kind of like this. We might see a little rebound tomorrow, then a rejection, and we might just continue to downtrend like this. So the odds do favor the downside, but just to be safe, watch 468. If we lose that, we're going to see SPY sink a lot more. It's very simple. If we close below that, that's even more bearish, and there's going to be a bigger drop coming. If we hold it, there's still potential for this thing to try to hold up and try to bounce. Now, if 468 fails us, watch 467, 465, 462, and the list goes on. For resistance, watch 470. If we break that, there's 471, 472, followed by 473.8 and 474. It looks bearish on the daily, so the odds do favor the downside, but just to be safe, watch 468 as support. As far as Tesla goes, we're actually below our 50 EMA, and now we're approaching a key level at 230. Tesla's looking very weak right now, especially on the daily time frame. It's just continuing to sink, so we're going to be watching this very carefully. Let me show you the chart on Tesla. Tesla has resistance right now very close to that 240 area. That's going to be our key resistance. If we break above that, there's going to be 242, 244, and then 247.5 and 250. For support, make sure you watch our 237 range, just a little bit below that. That's going to be our range 236 to 237. If we lose 236, expect it to come down to 234, followed by 232, and then 230. 230 is going to be our key support, and 228 below that. So looking at Tesla right now, it is looking bearish, to be honest with you. It's very weak. We're going to be watching if this thing can try to come back to 240. It might shuffle up here, then eventually break down. If we fail to break back above 240, we're likely going to start sinking back down towards the much lower 230s. And overall, the trend is still looking very weak. No sign of Tesla bouncing yet. We could see this thing come down towards 235, and then below that to these lower levels like 232 and such. Still looks bearish. We'll be watching to see how it goes, but that's it for Tesla. For the QQQ, you're going to be watching resistance at about 399. If that breaks, we have 400, 402, and then 404, and also this yellow trend line. For support, make sure you watch support right over here at 398, 396.5, and etc. Now, overall, I just want to mention that, QQQ is looking bearish. If you look at the trend, it's still downtrending. There's no sign of this thing bouncing. I also want to call out that if you look at the QQQ on the daily lost to 20 EMA. We have some support at 396.5. I think if we lose 395, our next target is going to be the 50 EMA back down to like 390. It looks weak. There's no other way for me to say this. Could we get a back test at like 401 and then reject, or just reject from here? Yes, but it looks weak. It looks bearish. The odds are favoring the bears again. No sign of this bouncing. Tomorrow we could see a little back test of like 401 to 400 and a rejection back down to 396. It looks bearish. There's no sign of this thing bouncing. It favors the bears even more. Aapl right now is kind of stuck at this 183 support. It still hasn't really broken. So we have this new range, 183 is support, 185 is resistance. We went back to 185, come back down to 183, just straight sideways for now. But if we lose 183, our next target is 182.5. I think Aapl is starting to trade sideways, so we might see some buyers trying to defend it. We might just see some very sideways price action and move down to 182.5. Overall, still looks bearish until we get a change in the trend. We're still stuck. No sign of Aapl bouncing, so we'll be watching to see if that ends up being the case. Watch this range right over here. I think Apple's going to be stuck down here, and I don't really see a whole lot going on with it. For Nvda, this is also looking a little bit weak because it attempted to bounce here, but it's actually failing. We're going to be watching resistance at 479, 482, and 485. Watch support at 474.5, 472, 471.47, and 468. These are some very tight ranges. I think that it's going to be testing 468 soon, because when you go on the daily on Nvda, it's just barely holding 473. My gut tells me it's going to pop and then drop here. We're going to be watching this support. If it loses this, support, we're going to be looking for a bigger drop, which I think is very probable. I think that 468 tends to be a very important historical level. So it looks bearish right now. I think that Nvidia is going to pop a little bit. Back to 482, then come back down, and eventually make its way down to 468. I think it still looks bearish. There's no sign of a true bounce just yet. With that being said, guys, I went over the main ones. Now I just want to be very quick to just go over a couple of other tickers. I'm going to be very quick with this, by the way. As far as Rivian goes, still looking bearish, but it's just barely holding the 50 EMA. We have resistance at 20.8, and we have support right now at, let me just double check this, 20.12. There's a good chance it's going to lose 20 and make its way down towards 18. So it is looking kind of bearish to me. I think it's going to be making its way down towards 18.2. So we might see this thing lose support, but watch the 50 EMA on the daily just to be safe. See if it breaks this yellow EMA in order for us to turn even more bearish. For the IWM, it looks bearish as well. I mean, we actually came below 195.25. We have to get back above 195.25 to turn bullish, but it looks to me like it might backtest that and then just reject and come all the way back down towards 187. I think the IWM is looking kind of bearish. We might see this thing slowly come back down towards the breakout area, and I think that 190 is a very reasonable target. For Microsoft, this is looking a little weak. Not that weak. It's kind of flat, but still, very, very flat right now. I wouldn't be surprised if this comes back down to the wick and we see a test of 366 soon. Might just trade sideways between 366 and 375 as basically our resistance, but I think that there's downside definitely that's imminent. On AMD, you're going to be looking for the 20 EMA to be tested. We're going to likely see a test of 136.5, then a rejection. I think that's ultimately going to slowly downtrend and get very close towards 132.5. I think it's going to be our next target. A little pop and drop is very probable. It's still looking kind of weak. If you want to be bullish, you want to see it hold above 136.5. That's how you turn a little bullish. If it holds and closes above that, my gut tells me it's going to pop a little bit and then come back down. Still see some downside as being a strong possibility. For the VIX is broken above the daily 50 EMA. If it holds above 13.92, it's going to start pushing higher, and this could be bearish for the markets. The dollar index is still pushing up, and it looks like it wants to get up to 103, which is bearish for the markets. Still looks bullish. Coinbase is down again. This is what we predicted. It's trying to backtest this 20 EMA. If it breaks 155.59, we could turn bullish, but it might actually test this and then reject. If it rejects off that test, expect it to come all the way back down towards 144. That's the level we called out yesterday, 144 to be tested. We did touch that and try to bounce, but I think that it's going to fail. I think it's going to pop and then drop and eventually come down towards the lower levels. So, Coinbase looks bearish. Google, kind of flat right now, but it's losing some momentum. It failed to break the 5 EMA. Might trade sideways between 140 and 138.65 for an extended period of time before we come down to 136.5. I still think it's going to test that. Amazon starting to break down as predicted. I'm going to be looking for this thing to test 147.5. If that fails, let's watch for 145 at the daily 50 EMA. I think that's likely going to be tested as Amazon's looking weaker. Meta, we called some downside as well, but it's just barely holding the 20 EMA. I was right about this being tested. We're going to be watching this carefully. If we lose 344, it's going to be coming down to these much lower levels. If it holds this, it might trade sideways between 350 and 344. As of right now, it's kind of stuck in the range, but we'll see if it loses the 20 EMA, the green line right here, this 344 area. If we lose that, we turn even more bearish. So that's it for the video, guys. I wanted to make this very quick and simple. Thank you all so much for listening. I will see you guys tomorrow morning again. Hopefully this very quick update was helpful. Wanted to get as many tickers in here as possible and try to make this fast. So have a great day. Enjoy what life has to offer, and I'll see you guys very soon tomorrow morning. The market to the moon's long term is still incredibly bright, and peace out.